The Mets can't blank out in LA or they're going home.
The Mets can't strand runners or they're going to go home. It's as simple as that. We have seen this. Their demise has been stranding everyone their mother. Seriously, Brandon, you got to find out where your relatives are. They might be there at second and third still because they're not rounding home. That has been the big problem for the Mets where they were blowing out in game one. Then we saw there as well in games 3 and 4. The recipe for success is not only a combination of making sure that they handle things on the strike zone end from a pitching perspective, but more so on the approach with their offense. As long as they're early and often taking quality at-bats, grinding out at-bats, and making sure that they're not stranding bases loaded with no outs the way that they did there in game 4, good things are destined to happen.
Yeah, you talk about them leaving runners stranded. It's like you're watching the movie Castaway with Tom Cruise. Anthony, the Mets can't blank or they're getting sent home.
The Mets can't walk batters or they're going to be sent home. There's too much walking of this entire Dodgers lineup. This isn't the Phillies. The Phillies chase. They were able to manipulate that lineup. This is a very disciplined, very well-oiled lineup when it comes to the Los Angeles Dodgers. And if you walk batters, you give this team an opportunity to score runs. It's not just the top of the lineup. You got Tommy Edman in there, Kike Hernandez, all these guys, even Pages had a couple of home runs. You can't allow these walks to continue because you do that and you're going to see Shohei Ohtani 6 or 7 times. You're going to see Mookie Betts at the same rate. You got to limit the walks, and the pitching staff has to step up in these next 2 games if the Mets are going to get to the World Series this year.
Anthony, Game 6 goes down at the end of Sunday Fun Day, 8:08 p.m. Give us your previews and your thoughts.
Well, there's no other pitcher that I want on the mound for the New York Mets than Sean Manaea right now. He's the ace of the staff, and he's got to set the tone for this team. The Mets also need to score early. They're not scoring against these starting pitchers, although yesterday they did it, and look, they won this game. So they're going to have to step up early and score some runs because we know how tough the Dodgers bullpen is. But it'll be Sean Manaea who needs to set the tone against what I would assume is the Dodgers bullpen game that's going to set up Game 6.
Tyler, what about you? Give us one of those win one for the Gipper speeches.
Oh, yeah, you got to start with Simone Southpaw, as Anthony just alluded to. When he is dominating, great things tend to happen for this Mets team. And Brandon, we just spoke a couple days ago on how well Sean did against Shohei Ohtani. Shohei's still trying to figure out how that sweeper and sinker works. The arm slot has been brilliant, and hopefully that continues. And just fingers crossed, Ohtani hasn't had too many tricks up his sleeve and having the proper adjustments since then. But it comes down to not only this offense, but it's this Mets bullpen, okay? We all know that this is a fairly weak bullpen for the Mets when it comes to quality options that they have. Edwin Diaz was vintage Edwin Diaz that we saw there for the huge save in Game 5. We're going to need a bank on Edwin, as well as our higher leverage guys should be called upon, because this is yet another elimination game. It needs to be viewed as such. They have to be going in there, do or die, right from the start in this matchup. So as I'm looking at this Mets offense, you need to make sure you're doing your selective heading per usual and spread it out in bunches. That's how the Dodgers have went so well about this series, is not having one massive inning in the 7th, the 8th, or the 9th that the Mets did pretty much there against the Brewers and the Phillies to be dependent on winning baseball. You're seeing the Dodgers 2 in the 2nd, 2 in the 4th, 3 in the 6th. Now the Mets are finally starting to spread it out. They finally got on top of a starting pitcher. Now let's see if they can beat up on a bullpen that they did famously well in Game 2 in LA against these Dodgers.
Tyler, tell the people they can find you.
You guys can check out my work, as always, at WardyNYM on YouTube or wherever you get your Mets content. Thank you guys so much, as always. Anthony, a pleasure, a great friend of mine, as always, so really happy to be doing this segment with him finally here on the platform. Brandon, thank you so much for making this happen and being a tremendous host per usual. And hopefully we're talking again real soon about amazing Mets baseball continuing past Game 6.
Anthony, drop the @ Tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, at Ant Rivera 86 for me personally, and then at Subway to Shea, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Thank you so much, Brandon. Appreciate it. And Tyler, thanks, buddy.
This was fun, guys. Let's go Mets.